Welcome everyone to Crypto Kid TV. This is Daniel Plummer, the Crypto Kid. I hope you're enjoying my new studio setup. I'm looking at the backdrop. The lighting is a little off still. Let's see if we can do something here. All right, but I got the backdrop and everything, so I hope you're enjoying it. Today we discuss Fraudster Leticia James. That's right, AG of the District of Southern New York is clearly facing an imminent indictment for real estate fraud. And oh, the irony it is. If you had been following starting in 2023, Leticia James inflated her interpretation of the law to indict President Trump and sue him for $450 million, stating that Mar-a-Lago was only worth $18 million. When no crime had been committed or reported, no party was injured. And she simply said, most people estimate that Mar-a-Lago in Florida is worth over $1 billion. And from her estimate and the agreement with the judge, they estimated the worth at 18 million. And so they found him guilty and fined him $450 million. And that, of course, is right now in the appellate court. But now we've discovered that Leticia James has several cases of possible fraud where she is currently the attorney general in the state of New York. And she recently obtained a mortgage on a home in Virginia for $160,000. And she stated that that was her primary residence. And if that is the case, then she is ineligible for being the attorney general in New York. And in addition to that, she has obtained loans that surpass $400,000. So what we understand at this point is that she currently has loans that are worth more than $225,000 of the value of the property. And no bank is going to do that. In addition to that, for a property in New York, it's our understanding that she obtained a loan, and she stated that her husband was a part of this loan, and we understand she listed her father as her husband, and the unit needed to be 5 units, but the unit is 4 units. And from that, she was able to get favorable terms on her loan. This case has been referred to the DOJ, and her indictment is imminent. In addition to that, if you've been following the crypto markets, the financial markets, the market is up, down, sideways, and I'm in a holding pattern. Now's a great time to buy. And Congress and Chuck Schumer said they want to investigate President Trump for tweeting that now is a good time to buy. But currently, crypto is down. Let's see before we get on any further with Leticia James, let's see where the price of Bitcoin is. Bitcoin has rebounded to $84,238. So it is up $187. Over the past 7 days, Bitcoin has dropped as far as, I believe 72,000. Let's get a 1 month low. Yes. Okay. 75,000. So that was a great price to buy when Bitcoin has had a high of 108,000 US dollars. So even now at $84,238, I mean, when Bitcoin rebounds, you stand to gain at least $20,000. So I do agree that now is a good time to buy. Right now, I'm not buying, I'm not selling anything because the market is just unpredictable. And I predicted in March 2025 that there would be no rollout on what the economic plan was going to be till at least the second week in April. Now I'm pushing that back till the second week in May. I'm talking another 4 weeks. Right now, Doge is still uncovering a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. Currently is at $150 billion in savings. I'm going to refresh the screen and now it's $155 billion so far that Doge has uncovered in fraud, waste, and abuse. And that is a good thing. And I believe it is very likely that President Trump will not reveal his economic plan until the middle of July. And that's simply because Doge is still at the beginning of discovering and unraveling this waste, fraud, and abuse. But to this point, to uncover $155 billion, well, President Trump is upset because immediately the Republican-led Congress has approved a current bill that is 150 billion more than last year. So Doge has uncovered 155 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse, and the Republican-led House and Senate have come up with a budget that is $150 billion more than last year. So they've wiped away all of what President Trump has uncovered. Nevertheless, I believe it's my prediction that President Trump is going to use that money to stimulate the beginning of whatever economic plan he has. And it at least buys him enough money until September 2025 to give the House an opportunity to come up with a budget. They better get going because at the end of June, they're going to go on recess, and then they're going to come back in September and have to put another gap budget together to stop the government from closing. And that's what I anticipate is going to happen. So once again, what I believe it is mid-April. Congress has until the end of September 2025 to come up with a budget. And I believe that they only have, 2 months to do that. And I don't believe they're going to do that. I believe that they're going to push it back. I don't have a lot of faith in the Republicans right now as a whole. When it comes to pushing back against the Democrats, they are very weak at that. And I believe what's going to happen in September is they're going to have to pass a budget to get them all the way into Christmas. And then at that time, they're going to pass another budget to get them into February. So I don't believe, and these are going to be temporary budgets. So my prediction is that Congress is going to punt the ball and punt it all the way into the end of June 2025. They're not going to come up with any budget. They're going to come back from vacation and have about a month to pass a budget, which is not enough time. Then they're going to pass another budget to get them to the end of December. And over the beginning of January, they're going to pass another budget to get them into possibly March. And so this is going to be a game. I do not have a lot of confidence in the Republican Congress, both the House and the Senate, as far as passing a viable budget. But let's get on to the Leticia James situation here and see what has been unearthed at this point.
Sandra, a lot to get into with this, and you've got the perfect guest.
Yeah.
We've got the perfect guest to talk about it with.
He's here, retired NYPD inspector and Fox News contributor Paul Morrow, who reported on this back in early February. We'll get your thoughts on the speeding bride in moments. First, This is an incredible story. Oh, the irony.
Yeah, what a turnaround. So Sam Antar, as Eric mentioned, was arrested for a financial fraud himself about 40-something years ago, the infamous Crazy Eddie case that he was part of the architecture of. But that said, he subsequently, after pleading and testifying on behalf of the government, went to work for the government, helping them make white-collar cases. So he knows what he's talking about. He brings this thing to me on my Ops Desk blog, and he lays it out, and he's got documents, and it was very compelling. It's very hard to argue that, to me at least, to my eyes, the evidence that he's uncovered here really looks like there's a pattern of obfuscation, stuff that she has signed and notarized that does not seem to be accurate. And so the story's been bubbling up. And then when Laura Ingraham breaks it nationally, it gets attention. And as you mentioned, it's been referred to DOJ for a criminal referral. And that is no joke. That is the top of the prosecutorial food chain. She's going to have to answer this out.
And you were on this very early as well with your Substack. You can pull up call for number 1 right here. You had the headline, Sunday report, a Tish James scandal. Is the New York Attorney General guilty of exactly what she sued Donald Trump for? You then go into the details of what she's potentially accused of now. So what's it like for you to now see that there are potential criminal charges being referred to DOJ when you had this a couple months ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's gratifying that it's getting attention, and we have to be careful. Look, she's a public figure, I get that, but she gets her chance to answer this out. There hasn't even been a complaint or an indictment, so, you know, she might have answers. But as I said, it's really, really compelling, and I have to give credit to Sam Antar because he just kept digging away on this. There's people have thrown all kinds of shade at him here. Oh, you're working for the Trump administration. All of that's completely not true. He hasn't worked for the government in a long, long time. But there were two really salient aspects of this that if you have any kind of an investigatory mind, you have to say to yourself, there looks like there's some real smoke here. She's claimed these Virginia houses, at least one of them, as her primary residence when she's the Attorney General. In fact, some of that paperwork was filed when she was about to bring the case against Donald Trump. So that took real chutzpah. So the other thing, though, and I think this is real trouble, is that her Brooklyn residence. She has a residence in Brooklyn. But she has repeatedly claimed over the course of the ownership that it's only 4 residences. Why? 5 or above is commercial, and that's going to be a higher rate. And so she's always claimed through a series of paperwork filings that it's only 4 residences. But the New York City certificate of occupancy, which is the determining factor, says that it's 5. And you got to say to yourself something else. She's been on a government salary. Where's she getting all of this property? Yeah. I mean, you know, she's quite the real estate tycoon.
Seems like a significant detail in all of this. You mentioned that this was broken on the Ingraham angle last night. Here's Jonathan Turley on the criminal referral against James. Listen.
This is really for James, the very case that she most famously brought. She insisted that these technicalities matter and that the powerful should not be given a free pass. Well, that bill has come due in this case. She's going to have to deal with this filing. I'm honestly just not sure how you defend against this unless you say that these are fraudulent documents.
So what are we talking? What does this mean for James?
So exactly what Jonathan said there. He's exactly right. It's precisely what she brought against Donald Trump, which is to say that you overinflated the value of your properties in order to get more mortgages than your building was worth. Her Virginia property, one of them, by her own disclosure, which you have to disclose as a public figure, as a public employee, she puts it around $150,000. It's mortgaged, according to the paperwork, over $500,000. Now, it's not at the level of what Donald Trump did, because in Donald Trump's case, you're talking about buildings on Fifth Avenue, et cetera. But her building is at least 4 to 5 times overinflated for the purposes of mortgages. And some of the mortgages are in the public record. Some of them are not. They look like phantom mortgage. The whole thing is fugazi, and you got to look into it. They're going to have to go into the Virginia records, the feds are, drop subpoenas, do search warrants, pull out all kinds of stuff. And there's one big question left, I think, that a lot of us are wondering, which is, who's living in the Virginia buildings?
Wow.
And are they paying rent? And are you reporting that rent? Are you paying the taxes on that rent? There's a lot here.
And it's probably out of the statute of limitations at this point, but you were saying like decades ago, she bought a property and put her dad down as her husband, essentially.
When she was about 20, so we're going back a ways, she put down that her father was her husband for the purposes of getting her first mortgage, apparently. And apparently there is some financial advantage to that I'm not clear on, excuse me, but she's never been married, according to what we can discern here. And as a result, it does look like her father went down as her spouse about 30 years ago.
A lot of smoke. We'll see if there's some fire, right?
Wow.
Okay, so there you have it. Leticia James clearly is, from what we see so far, the situation from her first mortgage was 30 years ago, and I believe the statute of limitations is 20 years. So it's unlikely that they can bring up charges against her. However, for Brooklyn residents, she currently is listing it as 4 units to continue to have some favorable mortgage advantage, because if and so clearly it implies that there's some type of loan on that property, and yet we understand that under the city of New York it's listed as 5 units, which would be a higher rate. So unless those documents she's going to claim are fraudulent, which is a great stretch, but I wouldn't put it past her, she's in trouble there. And then is from what we just watched, it appears she has more than one property in Virginia. And one of the properties she's listed, because she's a public figure, she has to disclose. She's listed that property value at $150,000. However, she has loans that exceed $500,000. So she's going to have to explain that. I believe either way, I believe the DOJ is going to give her the same treatment because she says technicalities matter. So I believe instead of questioning her about it, I believe they're going to gather more evidence. The DOJ, that means the FBI, is going to have to go in to Virginia, and is all they have to do is walk over the Francis Scott Key Bridge, or drive over the Francis Scott Key Bridge, get the documents in whatever county and city that these properties are listed in, issue subpoenas, gather the information, and I believe they're going to indict her. They're not going to call her in and sit her down for a questioning. I believe they're going to indict her and give her a taste of her own medicine. And I believe also in this playbook, since Virginia can be a purple state, they may not bring up those charges. I know they're not going to do it in the District of Columbia. So in Washington, D.C., they're not going to bring those charges. I believe what the DOJ is going to do is bring up those charges either in the state of Florida, the state of Alabama, Mississippi, South Dakota, something like that, a completely red state, and give it to a grand jury. And Leticia James is going to be indicted and terp walked. And then from there, she's going to be removed from office. And once they get the indictment and then the conviction, all of her cases, and this is going to open up a hornet's nest, because once she gets indicted, all the people that she's prosecuted, because she's now been indicted for fraud, these people have an opportunity now to petition for a new case. So this is going to get very tricky, and I believe it's going to move forward. She put her foot in her mouth. There's no way out of it. And then she's already said that she has now just began another investigation of Donald Trump and his sons over by the statements from Chuck Schumer over profiting on insider trading. And I'm going to tell you now, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, the modus operandi of the Democratic Party is to accuse you of whatever they have done wrong, considering to do wrong, or are in the process of doing wrong. And so instead of waiting for these indictments from the DOJ, she is going on the offense and saying, well, she released to the Post, the Washington Post, hey, I am beginning an investigation of Donald Trump and his sons on insider trading. And because she knows that now that it's been on the Ingram angle and has gained a lot of publicity, no matter what, it looks very bad for her to inflate her understanding of the law, to attack Donald Trump, where none of the parties, none of the banks that gave Donald Trump loans, Donald Trump paid off every loan on every piece of property. So there was no injured party. And to have a crime, you need a party that was injured. Nobody was injured. Nobody cried foul play. In fact, when they put the bankers on the stand, the bankers said, look, he stated what he felt the properties were worth. We did our research. We agreed and we loaned him the money. He paid us back. So everybody is happy. Now she's going to taste her own medicine, and she's about, Leticia James, the Attorney General of New York, is about to take her own 1970s medicine. That means no sugar. Remember that harsh taste of that medicine in the 1970s? I don't know if you were alive during, but I had to take medicine as a kid in the 70s, and the medicine in the 70s was horrible. So that's why they've loaded it up with sugar today, and it's not going to be sugar coated. So with that, remember, this is going to continue, and this is going to send the financial markets up and down. This is going to be zigzag, a cosine wave. I don't expect anything to pan out in the financial markets until July 2025. Okay. I don't expect Bitcoin to reach any type of high. I believe, for me, now's a good time to get into the options market or ETFs on Bitcoin, because it's just going to go up and it's going to go down. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. And that is the game. And I've been playing this financial game since 1991. So I'm very confident that that's what's going to happen. Like I said, over the last more than 30 years, I've made a lot of money in the financial markets, but I've also lost a lot. And I'm just sharing the game with you guys of how these hedge fund, because these people at Goldman Sachs, these hedge fund investors, they're going to speculate it up. Once you think, oh man, Bitcoin is going up, it's going up, you're going to get in the game, and then they're going to sell it down. So don't fall for that game. Also, right now, Ethereum is looking good. Let's get the price on Ethereum before I let you go. Yes, Ethereum is at $1,583, less than half the price when Donald Trump took office. Man, that, like Donald Trump said, President Trump, now's a good buying time. And I'm telling you that right there. Ethereum looks at a good price, because we know it's reached a high of over 4,000 US dollars. And up until the inauguration, Ethereum was trading over $3,000. So, hey, that looks like a good price to buy Ethereum. Okay, with that, I'm out of here. And like I said before, and I've said many times, nothing I say is financial advice. It's just the way I see it. So I'm out of here. This is Daniel Plummer, the Crypto Kid. Thank you for being here, and pass the word around. Take care. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. And by the way, I hope you like the new studio. You can see the backdrop is still, it's a work in progress, but either way, I'm loving it. You could see the boom light right here. That's my boom light. I'm still getting the sandbag. I want to make sure the light doesn't hit me in the head while I'm going live. Okay. But anyway, thank you so much. All right. I love you. God bless. And happy Holy Week.